Okay, this is one of our new authors. This is our first time to publish her. And we already had Jack Churchward talking about Mu. And you know, there was a fine line on which is Mu and which is Lemuria. We do seem to blur the two together. But all we know was a lost continent. So Charmian has written a book about Lemuria. And that's what she's going to be talking about. Her book is Coming Home to Lemuria. And she's going to be talking about life there and what it was like and what she found out. So this ought to be interesting. And you also said you're going to take a journey.
I'm going to do a guided, I'm going to take us to Lemuria. I'm going to tell you about it, but mostly I'm going to take us on a bus.
Okay, the first part is about the book, and then she's going to take you on a trip. Okay. So, Charmian Redwood.
Thank you very much, Dolores. What I am is an interdimensional travel agent. So wherever you want to go, that's where we're going to go. So everybody in England wants to live in Hawaii. It's like a dream. It's escaping the cold and the wet. So I was allowed out of England for good behavior, and I'm not going back. So 2006, I was living in Santa Fe, and I got the opportunity to go to Hawaii, which is somewhere that had only been an impossible, distant dream my whole life. So about halfway across the Pacific, I just burst into tears and couldn't stop crying. Even now, just thinking about it. I knew I was going home, but I had no idea what that meant. I didn't know what I was going home to. I knew I was a Lemurian, but that didn't mean anything because I knew nothing at all about Lemuria. So I'm sitting there weeping on the plane, and people are kind of looking at me. Fortunately, there was a soppy movie on the screen, so they thought I was crying about that, so that's fine. Anyway, I got off the plane. I stepped onto the airport, and I just knew for the first time in my life that I was safe, that I could show who I am, I could shine my light, and I wasn't going to be shot down. And I think I was 55, maybe, something like that. And so I can't describe the feeling. So I went, my friend took me the next day to this little bay called Honaunau, which is a city of refuge. It was built by the Hawaiians for anybody who needed to be escape from tyranny or persecution. If they made it to the place of refuge, they were safe. Like in a church, it was that sacred ground that you couldn't be chased and grabbed and put in prison. So I went to Honaunau. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was raining. The sky was gray. The ocean was gray. And I was just all by myself. There was nobody there. And this whole pod of dolphins swam right up to the edge of the rock and said, "Get in the water." So jumped in the water with my snorkel, and this pod of dolphins just came right up to me and said, "We are your family. We are your pod, and you are one of our family." So I'm all bursting into tears again in the ocean all by myself, sobbing. And so they said to me, "You need to move here." So I said, "Okay, that's fine with me, but I need a miracle," because I had no money, no job. I'm a real gypsy. I just drift around. And I had about $1,000 in the bank. I was renting a room. And I said, "Okay, well, I will, but I need a miracle." So that night, I went to a shamanic journeying group with me, my friend, the lady who was leading it, and one other lady. Well, when we did the journey where she played the drum and we just laid down, the dolphins took me to Sirius, the star Sirius, and they showed me how we had all chosen to come together to the earth to bring the Christ flame, which is in the temple on Sirius, to the earth. So the dolphins, the whales, and humans all came together to the earth. So the deal was that we were going to fall asleep, we were going to forget that we were divine, magnificent light beings, we were going to disconnect from our golden cord, and we were going to go into an unconscious state, where we have been very successfully for quite a long time, you may have noticed. So what the dolphins and the whales, their agreement was that they would remember who we are and they would remember who they are. And when the time came for us to wake up, to remember that they are holding the codes, they would hold the codes for us to step back into our divinity. So that's what's been happening on the earth. Dolphins and whales are calling people to come and swim with them, to be in the water with them. So when I came back from the journey, I said to that group, there was only 3 other people and me, the dolphins are telling me I need to move to Hawaii. So the only lady in the group that I didn't know said, well, I go to California for 6 months every year, so you can come and stay in my house. So there was my miracle. I went back to Santa Fe, sold everything, which was not very much because I'm a gypsy. And then I said to my divine director, if you want me to go to Hawaii, you've got to give me some money, because I'm not doing struggle and I'm not doing difficult, I'm doing easy. So, so miracle number 2. In 3 weeks, I made $6,000 from doing my hypnosis and my workshops, which I've never done before or since. So I went to Hawaii 3 weeks later with $7,000. And I spent just the whole time in the ocean or lying on the hot rocks. And it felt like all of the pain that I've carried through all of my lifetimes was just washed away, because the codes for Lemuria are in the water and they're in the land in Hawaii. So I unpacked my 2 bags, which didn't take very long. I moved there on 666. I unpacked my bags and I thought, now what am I going to do? Well, I'd met somebody and she said, there's an ET conference this weekend. So I thought, great, I'm going to meet my family. So I did. I went to the conference, I met my family. All my soul, everyone I met was part of my soul family. So I started doing my, what I call hypnotherapy for the soul, which is very similar to what Dolores teaches, where I take people to connect to their divine essence and look into their Akashic records. So all of the people that I met were my Lemurian family. So we were all going back to the time of Mu, where we lived in oneness. In the beginning, we lived in light bodies. We were not physical yet. We were flowing. We could flow anywhere we wanted to be. We created these beautiful crystal cities where they were made of clear, like clear quartz, but not quite the same as what we have, not as solid, more liquid light made into crystal. And then we worked in the cities in teams of 3, 6, 9, or 12, and we stood on like a 12-pointed star. The light from the sun would come in through this crystal antenna, and in that light were the creation codes, the golden codes that bring the light from the source to the earth. So our team would be around that beam, and each person would extract from the creation codes their particular aspect or speciality. So we would have something in mind that we wanted to create, like a crystal city, and we would ask for the blueprint to be downloaded from the library in the mind of God. We would stand in our circle, and each person would receive a piece of that blueprint. Some people got the sound codes, some people would get the geometry, other people would get the visuals, and then we would put all of our received information, we'd put it together, and then we would literally manifest whatever we focused on in the center of the circle. So we used intention, the connection to the group through the heart, and then the connection to source, and we literally manifested beautiful cities, plants, trees, and fountains, waterfalls, everything. So we lived in oneness, in love and harmony. This was before the fall, so there was no pain, there was no death, there was no anger. That was unknown to us. When we brought the light in, we put it into the pathways in the city, so that everywhere we walked, we were receiving love. We sent it out into the earth grids, so that everybody on the earth could be held in that oneness. So there was no loneliness or any sense of separation. We just lived in love. And it was like that for hundreds of thousands of years. And this was all in the area that is now the Pacific. So all of the islands, the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, Asia, Australia, the west coast of America, Japan, they were all part of Mu. Well, then we decided that we were going to go through this time that we now call the fall, where we would separate ourselves from our golden cord that connects us to the source. And we would go through this time where we came down into density and experienced suffering and loss and pain. Now you might be wondering why we would do that. I wonder myself, what were we thinking? The reason was that it was a way to challenge our souls so that we would make a huge leap in soul's evolution. So we would go from the light into suffering, into density, and the challenge was, could we retain our light? Could we keep our connection even through the most adverse circumstances? And really, we had no idea what we were letting ourselves in for. So this is all in the book, how we came down into density and then we got stuck there and then we couldn't get back to the light, and it was very, very hard. So the plan always was that we were going to go from the light down into separation and density. But then we were going to come back, that we were going to do a cycle, that we would return to the oneness, we would return to the light, and we would bring the earth with us. So that is why the memories of Lemuria are coming back now, because we're at that point where we've explored separation very thoroughly. And I'm sure you all have stories of how thoroughly we've done martyrdom and suffering and sacrifice and all of that kind of stuff. Well, now we are coming back up into oneness, into love. We know how to do it. We have the codes for it in our DNA because we've already done this on the earth in a body. So we know how to do it. So now those codes are being reactivated. We are being reconnected to the source so that we can once more begin to live from that place of oneness. When we went through the fall, our DNA strands were disconnected, went down from 22 to 2, which was just allowing us to survive. But the part that was disconnected was what we would call our superconsciousness, which is the 90% of the brain that we don't use. But that is the part that connects us to the source, that helps us to travel through dimensions across universes. And so those strands are now being reconnected. So we are going to be going into our divine presence. So the trigger for that was December the 21st, 2012. That was when the switch was flipped, and officially the fall is ended, the separation is ended, the earth has returned to the oneness. So we are all catching up with that. So I was in Mount Shasta at the time. I didn't know where I was supposed to be, and then I heard about this retreat in Shasta, so I'll go there. So I went to sleep, went to bed the 21st, and I woke up at exactly 3:33 in the morning, which was the midpoint when the dimensional shift was going to happen according to the Mayans. And I was expecting bells, whistles, July 4th, comets. None of that happened, as you were all expecting that too. Didn't happen. What did happen was this soft blue light came down over the whole planet, and it was the Christing of the planet, which now makes that energy available for all of us. So I woke up the next morning, and being Mount Shasta, a very powerful spiritual center, there were a million events for the dimensional shift, because we're in now December 21st, 2012. So there are all these events. And I thought, where shall I go? Where shall I go? And then the realization hit me of what had shifted. And what had happened was that I had come into my presence. I'd taken on my presence. So it didn't matter where I went, because wherever I was going to go from this time forward, I was in the presence. So I didn't go to any of the events. I went and got a massage, and I went carol singing, because I love singing. And I just stayed for 3 days in bliss. And I thought, wow, this is good. This is what I thought it was going to be. Well, day 4, the bliss went, and all the stuff came up. So everything that I hadn't resolved, all of the grief, the anger, the fear, the resentment, just everything, for about 3 months, all through January, February, March, everything that was left over from our long journey through density, where we have been put to death horribly for being who we are. We've been in relationships that were abusive. We've been in countries where we've been persecuted. All of that was just coming out, and it was really, really difficult. So at that time, I was guided to write another book, which is this one. It's called 2012, A New Earth Rising. And the way I got the information for this book was taking 18 people forward through the dimensional shift into the healed earth. And all 18 of them had exactly the same experience, that they were fully awakened, they were fully conscious, they were full of joy, they could travel anywhere they wanted to go just by thought, talk to the animals, talk to the plants. All the earth was returned to peace, to love, and to harmony. all of the conflict was gone, the wars were over. People who wanted to keep on doing that power over thing, they were removed from the earth. The people who remained were all living in harmony and cooperation and just helping each other, serving each other, the way that we did in Lemuria. So I asked when this was going to happen. I thought it was going to happen in a flash on December 21st, but that was just the switch being flipped. The answer was that when enough humans, when enough people are ready to hold the frequency of oneness, then we'll reach a tipping point and we'll take everybody who's chosen to make this shift, we'll take them with us. And that is not everybody on the planet. Some people will be choosing not to do this shift. When I went to Hawaii and I met all these people who were Lemurian, and some of them were not very nice people. And I'm going, well, I thought we were all love and light, so why aren't they being kind? And the answer that came back was what the fall was actually a descent into ego. Because in Lemuria, we had no separate sense of self. We were just part of this oneness. But when we went through the fall, we started to have an ego and a personality. And some people are still needing to do that journey. They need to stay on the third dimension to complete that experience. But they won't be doing it on the earth anymore, because the earth will not be available as a third dimensional planet. So the people who are making the shift, who are going to go through into our awakened state, we will be rejuvenated. This is in the book. This is what people saw. We won't be aging. We won't be dying. We'll just stay in our very much more vital bodies. Everybody said how alive they felt and how vibrant, and people are radiating light. And then when we decide it's time to go home, then we just leave the body. So I've seen, can't hear me, sorry. I'll shout up a bit. I'm from Manchester in England, and that's how we talk. Speak up, lass. What was I saying now? So, I know, I've seen my death and it's really beautiful. I've seen my birth and that wasn't a lot of fun at all. But I saw my death and it's really beautiful. I'm with my twin flame, who hasn't showed up yet, but I know he's on his way. And we decide that we can go home because the planet is safe for the children. So our job is done. The earth has returned to oneness. The earth is the garden once more. The children are safe. So we lie down. The whole community comes around and sings and blesses us. And then we just drift up out of our bodies, go home to the light. And then the bodies just incinerate themselves like Jesus did in the tomb. So that is the way we're going to leave this lifetime. So don't worry about how you're going to die, if you're going to die, when you're going to die. Don't worry about it. The reason that I started on my spiritual journey, or the event that started me on this path, 1980, I gave birth to twins. And everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Birth was a nightmare. But afterwards, I got very severe blood poisoning. And I was rushed back to the hospital, and I was dying. And I had no fear. There was no, oh my God, I got to stay here, I don't want to die. It was just, oh, thank God. So, so I'm in this hospital bed. And the next minute, I'm floating up out of that bed, and I don't know where I'm going, but I knew it was into peace and love, and there were angels there, and there was no fear at all. So the next minute or whatever, I'm in this golden light, and I knew this is home, this is who I am, this is where I belong, everything that I need. Okay, do you want me to hold it now? Everything that I need is in the golden light. Perhaps I shout into the microphone. Hello, little man in there. Does anyone read the Terry Pratchett books where he has the little elf in his pocket that goes, "You have a memo"? No, okay. So I'm in this golden light going, this is me, this is where I belong. Everything down there is just a story that I'm acting out in, but it's not who I am. So the next minute, Jesus is standing in front of me, and I'm going, no, I'm not one of yours, because I wasn't a Christian, and here I am in heaven, and I'm not a Christian, and there's Jesus, so what's that about? So we had this telepathic conversation in my head, and he said, he was all white light, but his heart was this blazing blue star. It was so beautiful. So we're having this conversation in my head, and he said, because your heart is pure, if you want to, you can stay with us in the golden light. But we're asking you to go back because the world needs your love, your wisdom, and your healing. Well, at the time, I didn't have any. I was 29, I was a school teacher, I was a really normal person. I was buying a house, and I spent most of my time in the pub playing darts and dominoes, as we do in England. And I said, how can I go back down there knowing that this is where I belong with you? So he broke off a piece of his star and he put it in my heart. And he said, now you know that I am always with you. So the next minute, I don't remember agreeing to come back, but I must have done. I've erased that part. What was I thinking? But the next minute, I'm floating over this hospital bed with this body in it that I know is not me. That is not me. That is the house that I'm living in for this lifetime. And I felt incredibly compassionate and grateful to that body because I was this immense being trying to fit into this little thing. And so I knew that if I get back into that, which is not me, I will be taking on suffering. If I stay out there, which is me, I will never suffer again. But my babies were 10 days old. I had 2 babies, twins. Their father really wasn't ready for children, didn't want children, blamed me for burdening him with children. So there was no way I was leaving my babies with him. So I came back in, and then everything that I'd done in my life up until then was utterly meaningless. The career, the mortgage, the house, nothing. My education, absolutely meaningless. So at that moment, I just gave my life to God because there was nothing else to do with it. There was no me anymore. So I just said, wherever I'm needed, just that's where I will go. Just let me know, and that's where I will go. So pretty much I've been traveling for 25 years. I've lived in probably 60 different places. I can't even remember how many places I've been. But what I want to say to you now, this is what I want you to remember if you don't remember anything else that I say. When you go to the other side, you don't worry about your 401k, what you've got in your savings. The only thing you take with you is the love that you have shared. And the only thing that you leave behind is your name written in the hearts of everybody and everything that you have loved. So I'm very grateful that this happened to me when I was 29, because now I'm a bit older than that. But I'm not telling you how much older than that. But over half of my life, I have lived this way that is just love. I'm always taken care of. I left Hawaii in October because that my whole life just stopped there. My job, my relationship, my home disappeared overnight. So I flew around the eastern states for a while doing workshops, and then I drove from California to Ohio, and I didn't actually know where I was going to be living because I'd been offered a place in Cincinnati and it fell through. So I just kept driving. People would say, well, where are you going to live? I said, well, I don't know until I get there. So that's how I've lived my life. I call it radical trust. But it works. If you give your life to the divine director, whatever name you want to put on that, then everything is given to you. So that's how I have been living. So what's happening now on the planet is that everything is returning to love. The earth has gone back into the fifth dimension, so she is taking on her body of light. She's shifting, she's having plates moving, she's having earthquakes, tsunamis. This is all her preparing her physical body to receive her light body. We are going through all kinds of shakes and bumps and rattles and rolls because our physical bodies are literally morphing into a new structure, a new human race that can take on the whole of the light of our soul. Normally, we would only bring 30 to 40% of our soul into the body. What the ascension is what I think, is 100% of our soul will come down into this body. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to leave the body and then come back as enlightened beings. We are enlightening this body. So everything that's happening on the earth right now, even though it doesn't much look like a return to love, because people are fighting each other, but everything that's happening is the earth returning to love. Some people can only get to love by experiencing its opposite, by having war and getting so tired of it that they say, okay, we're going to do something different now. So I would advise you not to take that route. I would just go for the love right now and don't worry about all the conflict, the resentment. Just let it go. Just let it go. Whatever's happened to you, whatever has been done to you, it doesn't matter anymore. That whole karmic cycle is ended now. It ended on December 21st. So that's why a lot of us have had a lot of relationships in this lifetime, because any karma that we've carried from 30,000 years in the fall that was not resolved, this is the last lifetime to do it. So we've had a lot of change. We've had a lot of people cycling through our lives, either who owed us a debt or who we owed a debt to, because we're not coming back anymore. This is the last lifetime for all of us, but it won't be dying, it will be going into life eternal, into immortality. And that's the most important thing at the moment. The biggest job that you have is to raise your frequency, which means being in joy. It's whatever brings you joy, whatever makes you light up, whatever makes your heart sing, that's your job right now on this planet, is to be the most joyful, happy, passionate being that you can be. Whatever that looks like to you, whether it's singing, dancing, being in the ocean, being in nature, being with children, getting a bunny rabbit, whatever it is, go and do it. And don't sweat the other stuff. It doesn't matter. Let it go. Whatever's been done, it's gone. They use ho'oponopono, which is a way of forgiving. Whatever's been done to you, you just say, I'm sorry, I love you, forgive me, and thank you. And then move on. Because there's so much more. The bigger picture is just so much more important, that when enough of us reach the tipping point, we'll take everybody. So that's what we need to be focusing on right now. That's how we lived in Lemuria. That's how we're going to be living on the earth. So now I would like to take you on a journey where I'll take you to one of the crystal cities, which this one, I found several of them around the coast of Hawaii. There's one off the Kona. It's always where the dolphins swim. That's where the crystal cities are. So it's out on the ocean, and so I'll just take you there. So just put things down and be comfortable, and whatever you need to do to be able to relax. And I'll try and shout. Sorry about that. So just allow yourself to breathe stillness. Imagine that you are floating in a beautiful ocean of aqua blue. The water is soft and warm. Gentle waves pass by. Each wave gently lifts your body and lets it fall. So you just allow the rising and the falling. With each wave that passes, you are going down deeper into peace. You hear sounds around you, chirping sounds. And as you look, a whole pod of dolphins is surrounding you, swimming right by your side, looking into your eyes. They are welcoming you. They have been waiting for you. And they want to take you to a very special place. So you swim out into the ocean with your dolphin family. And they are guiding you towards a most beautiful city that is made from crystal. It appears to float upon the water. You swim in through one of the channels which lead from the ocean into the city, into a beautiful pool of aqua blue water. The golden sun shines down through the crystal roof, filling the water with liquid light. And as you float in this beautiful pool with the dolphins, as you were in the land of Mu. All of the heaviness that you have collected from your time of separation is just melting, dissolving in the liquid light. So you float to the edge of the pool. You step up out of the water, and you stand before a crystal wall that is like a mirror. And as you look into that mirror, you see yourself as the priest, the priestess of Mu, shining, iridescent. Feel yourself now as that being. Remember the power, the connection, the peace, the serenity, the love. Now you are being called to the great temple at the very top of the city. So you begin to glide along the crystalline pathways on a cushion of love. You spiral up through the city to the very top. You enter the great temple underneath an enormous crystal dome. In the center of the dome is a giant antenna, a crystal spire that points up to the heavens. On the floor of the temple is a 12-pointed star. You walk to stand on one of those points. And as you do that, you notice the others of your team coming to fill the star, to stand on the other points. You look around the circle. This is your Lemurian light family. Some of them may be known to you in this life. Others are still to come. As the sun aligns with the antenna, a beautiful ray of golden light shines down into the very center of the star. You send a beam from your heart to connect into the golden light. And then you send a beam around the circle, connecting heart to heart. And then the whole team makes the intention to request the blueprint for the healed earth to descend from the mind of God. So in the center of your circle is a replica of the planet Earth as she is completely healed in her perfect form as an ascended being. This was the agreement that we made at the end of Lemuria. Some of you may receive the sound, others will see the pictures, some will feel the feeling. So we are now bringing into being the healed earth. And each one of us is a part of that new earth. That is what we are birthing right now. Remember the love. Remember the connection. Remember that this is who you are. A powerful, magnificent being of light. So now bring that Lemurian priest, priestess into this body, into this room, and let his or her consciousness be who you are now. Ask for the wisdom, the knowledge of yourself as Lemurian to be available to you now in this lifetime. So bring that in. And ask that Lemurian what message he or she has for you at this time of your journey. Know that all is well. The plan is perfect. We are the creator gods who wrote the plan. If things need to be changed, contracts need to be restructured, we can do that. There's nothing outside of us. We are the creator gods. So now bring that energy with you back into this room. Feel it in your body. Feel it in your heart. So very slowly, bring your awareness back into the body. Feeling the peace. feeling serenity and stillness. You are the gift to this earth. You are the blessing. You are the beloved. And all is well. So when you feel ready, begin to move your body, stretch your fingers, toes, feet, arms, fins. So I'd like to sing to you. I receive the sound codes and I see the pictures. That's my piece. So everything I do is with sound, crystal balls or the voice. So I would just like to say how honored I am to be walking this earth with you. Thank you for coming back. The reason there are so many people on the earth right now is that anybody who's ever been here is here now for the last act. This is the grand finale. We're actually here now for the after performance party. Because we've done the work. We've done it. It's complete. There's nothing more to do. We just have to be the presence. And everything comes from that. So I'd like to offer you this song, and if you want to join in, it's one of the dances of universal peace, but it's my favorite song of the moment. How beautiful this moment to share the holy presence with you. I open my heart to this moment and let the light of our love shine through. You can join in now. How beautiful this moment to share the holy presence with you. I open my heart to this moment and let the light of our love shine through. Thank you. So I will be here till a week on Tuesday around the area. I do individual sessions. What I'm doing at my booth out there is either small, short channelings from the masters, from Mother Mary, Jesus, Saint Germain. I'm just a vessel. I'm just an empty vessel. So they use me to talk to who they want to talk to tell you who you are as a soul, as your lineage, and why you are here. So I do the short sessions at the booth, and then in my room I do the hour or hour and a half sessions where we go to your divine essence and who am I, why am I here? Go into the future to see how your soul wants to express itself, and then we track it back to see how we start from right now doing it. So, and I'll be at my booth signing books. The book, this one has the CD at the back, so it has the journey that we just did, but not with the earth part, in the crystal temple. And it also has the second track, is healing the wound of the fall, because that is the wound that all of us still carry. All of our grief comes from that original wound of separation, from our own God self. So the second week I was in Hawaii, I couldn't stop crying again, and nothing has happened, nothing was going on, and I'm going, what am I doing? I cried for 2 weeks, I couldn't stop, and I asked for a journey, what's this about? And that journey, it was the answer, that I was releasing the wound of the fall. So if you can heal it at that level, then you heal it on every level. Do we have time for questions?
No, I think we only got a minute or so left.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and bless you all. Thank you.